So you want to understand how to be a good video producer. Consider this video your guide on how to actually produce a commercial for TV. In the most simplest analogy, being a video producer is like a glorified event planner. You're making sure all the people know exactly where to be and when and why and how they're getting there. All of the details in order for like an event to take place. That is exactly what your job is. Yes, a producer is not exactly creatively hands-on, but it is your job to understand the whole scope of the project and make sure that your budget and the actual logistics of the day are going to make sense together. You're essentially translating the creative ideas and executing them into the logistical things that need to happen in order to make the creative work. Over my years of freelancing, I've dealt with small productions and large productions, and it's very subjective, but this production here we're going to be talking about today is under 100K. In the commercial world, this is very relative. Sometimes if you're on a very big scale, 100,000 can go like that. It's not a lot of money, and sometimes it actually gives you a lot of flexibility. The first thing that I want to stress the importance of is your workflow. It's really important to stick to that overall workflow that you're used to, even with small productions. The exact same questions apply, the exact same formula applies to bigger shoots. We made this commercial for SmartServe through a production company called Viva Media based in Toronto. So our first order of operations is me and Matt, who is the director on this project. We sat down and we went through the storyboards. He had also already touched base with the client multiple times, so he had a really good understanding of their expectations and how many days this might take. The next step for me was to come up with a rough budget. There is a whole joke on the internet of freelancers being like, "What's your budget?" and the client being like, "What's your rate?" And it's this continuous back and forth. Everybody appreciates a ceiling number. If you can provide some sort of a range of like a low end and a top end, something to give us an idea of how big this production needs to be. And as a producer, it is your job to work within those bounds. But I do have a budget template. This is what I use for all of my productions. It's a Google Sheet, and essentially each tab allows you to separate your production costs into categories. So I have cast, I have crew, I have equipment, I have locations, I have insurance, I have all these different tabs. As you put in the estimated or projected numbers on one side, that total will calculate on your grand total tab at the bottom. So I make sure that I do that estimate first. I do all of the projected numbers, and then once we start actually paying for things and things start coming out of the production's pocket, that's when I start implementing the actual numbers, which is on the right side of this column. I would love to do a deeper dive on budgets specifically. If you are interested in that, please leave a comment down below. But if you are interested in this budget template, it's super cheap. The link is also down below. So you've had your creative meeting, you've done your budget, now it is time to open up a new production Bible. I titled this SmartServe Production Bible, and this is where all of your important links go. Everything is in this one production Bible, and that can be shared with your director or any of the like key leads that need access to these links. It's very easy for you to just share one link and say, anything you could possibly need for this production is all in this Google Sheet. Your next step is to understand dates. So this mainly will come from a client side in terms of timeline. Let's say they give you a final date for the project to come out. You would just work backwards and say, this is how long it's going to take for post-production to happen. And so therefore we need to be shooting on this date, or maybe they already have shoot dates that are very specific because of the talent that are included. So the dates and the locations are varied depending on your project. For finding locations, I have 3 methods. The first one is Set Scouter. This will require a COI, which is a certificate of insurance. The second one is Peerspace. This is where you would find most of your studio spaces. And the third one where you have to find those obscure locations. For example, we had to find a convenience store. Sometimes these locations are not listed on websites like those two, and so I went to Facebook Marketplace, and so this convenience store was actually being sold by the owner, and I was able to message them right away and inquire if they were open to having a film production come in. We essentially just paid for whatever it would cost to like open the store and any potential sales that they would have missed. One important lesson that I learned on this shoot was rain dates. So we had an exterior shoot day. This needed to be shot on a very beautiful looking day. It wasn't supposed to be a rainy, gloomy day. It was supposed to be a happy, sunny day. This is an important thing to establish with all of your crew to make sure that one, they are open to it, and two, available to hold a rain date. So giving them a heads up beforehand. What ended up happening in our case was that it was raining Friday and Saturday, and so we had to move our rain date to Sunday, and this was a very last minute decision. And so as production, you essentially have to honor that and rebook everyone and repay everybody for the Sunday. Because if you're in their shoes, I have already booked off my Friday, I've already held the Saturday, and neither of those dates we actually shot. However, I have already potentially said no to other jobs. So on the production side, it's very much fair to rebook all of that crew for a following day. And essentially in your budget, there should be contingency that allows for that flexibility in numbers in case you do have to hire these people on for another day. So you've got your dates, you've got your location, now it is time to secure your crew. It's super important to ask the director, hey, do you have any DPs that you would really like to work with? Those two are going to be the main partners throughout this whole thing, so you want to make sure the relationship is good, the synergy is good. Hopefully they've already worked together before. The DP is the one that will choose who their gaffer is, because again, those two are partners. So in terms of recruiting crew, it's a very like delicate process, because you don't want to put forward your personal people unless those key leads have worked with them before, or it's coming from, a really good recommendation from them. If they don't have any recommendations and they need people, then that's a whole other story. Then you can step in with your own people. It's very important for your key leads and, the people that are running the entire creative to be in charge of who they actually want on their team. The next thing you would be responsible for is sending out deal memos. I usually just do this over email. I stipulate dates that they're working, the rates, the payment structure. So if it's net 30, essentially articulating any other information that they would need and information that you already have. If you're liking this video so far, please let me know. Thumbs up, comment, subscribe, whatever you need to do. I really appreciate it. You've secured your location, you've secured all of the rental gear that you need. For both of those scenarios, you probably need a COI. A COI is a certificate of insurance. This essentially allows you to rent gear or have insurance for your locations. Most production companies have annual production insurance, which covers all of that. For me personally, I have gone through front row insurance. This is kind of the Canadian standard of any kind of insurance that you would need on a film production. The next thing is to lock in talent, and essentially if these roles are very heavy, for us they were not. There was no dialogue whatsoever, which was great, but essentially we were setting up meetings with talent and the director, or talent and wardrobe. The same thing goes for talent, like crew. Send over those deal memos and just articulate things that you do know and things that are TBD. As you're going through every single thing here that I'm talking about, everything should be going into the Bible. Your location, the address of the location, your contact information for the location. Let's say you're booking crew today, their name, their photo, anything that is relevant that would help develop your call sheet. All of these little bits and pieces of information go right into your production Bible. As you can see in the Bible, I have a tab called Crew Call Sheet Info. This essentially allows me to copy this entire Excel sheet tab and paste it onto a call sheet template. So it's the exact same formatting, which is beautiful. You have to make sure that you know exactly what their role is. So listing the role on the left side here, then their name, their first and last name, their phone number, their email, ideally their Instagram credits as well, and then any rain check availabilities I have listed on the side, so if they're available or not for a potential rain date. I also have a column for notes just in case there's any like dietary restrictions that I need to 100% make sure of. And this exact same thing goes for cast call sheet info. I like having a little column for the status, so I have contacted, confirmed, unavailable. Either they've been contacted, they're not available, or they're confirmed. So it just keeps people updated when they are looking at this for the very first time. They know exactly what is left to do and what has been done. We are nearing the end of pre-production. You are now going to meet with your assistant director and your director. They should be figuring out the schedule as well as looping in the DP on that conversation. The DP will have a little bit more insight on setup times and how long shots will end up taking. That way you know exactly how long the day is going to go on for, and once that schedule is complete, you now have call times, you now have wrap times for people in case they're asking, because at this point they probably are. Smaller detail, but very crucial, is lunch forms. What I end up doing is making a Google form, either the day of the location scout or just on Google Maps. I'm looking for close by restaurants in the area of our location. Ideally foods that are not messy, ideally foods that have a variety of different vegetarian options, meat options, gluten-free. Like, you're looking for a really good variety that will address any potential dietary restriction. So I'll go on their website or their menu and I will translate it into the Google form and make it super, super simple for people to check yes to whatever meal option they would like. Usually I keep it to like 4 or 5 different options, and then I also include a note below to include any dietary restrictions and allergies. These forms are super convenient, especially if you have a PA or a PM in charge of craft or food on the day of. This form I can just send to them and they know exactly how many orders to get. Ideally, your PM or PA is able to Sharpie any names. For one of the days we got Greek, so we had like big buffet style containers of like rice, potatoes, chicken, salad. That's a really good option. I love Greek food on a set because you've got all your food groups and you also have vegetarian options like falafels. Next step is printing out signage or printing out permits, like notices. So for our scenario, because we had exterior shots and it was in a public park, we had to notify any of the nearby businesses or residential areas that there was filming going to be taking place. Essentially, this is just a printout form. We had to purchase a permit from the city of Toronto. And the very last thing is ensuring that your call sheet goes out on time. Ideally, this is no more than 24 hours before your shoot day or your call time. The earlier the better, but also sometimes when it's too early, there are things that have to change and that can create some miscommunication. So ideally, what I love to do is create a call sheet that is a live sheet. So you're sending out a link and not just a PDF in case things do change. That way, everybody has access to the exact same document. And if something needs to be changed or updated, it is live and ready to go. 2 things that you should probably expect when things seem to be all in place and figured out. Just before the production, expect that crew cancels and that cast cancels. If you have backup people, that's amazing. Usually you should have, a back pocket option for certain roles. Cancellations could be for literally anything. It could be for personal reasons, sickness, whatnot. Obviously, what makes you a good producer is having those people in your network so that you can just easily swap people out and have no hiccups along the way. And that's it for pre-production. That was a super long explanation, and I feel like I still didn't go through every single nook and cranny of what it takes to actually produce something like this. You are in charge of managing a bunch of people. For SmartServe, we had 27 crew and 46 talent and over 4 shoot days. There's a lot of people to manage and across different days. It was so much fun because, as you are producing more and more, you tend to start working with the same people and it just feels very fun and it feels very comforting. And you're spending 10 plus hours with these people for 4 days straight. Commercial work is not even nearly the same effect that you get when working on narrative or like long format TV series where you develop relationships with people and you become like this family. It's a very beautiful experience, honestly, to work in this film industry, and I'm forever so grateful for it. However, when it comes to working with new people, it's always nice to have this type of workflow so that they know exactly what to expect and, the steps in order to make your production successful. Communication is probably the number one thing that I have been so conscious of in my entire career. One little miscommunication over email or over text or over the phone could cause either you to go over budget, it could cause you to go over time, and it can ruin relationships. So obviously it's a little bit scary to talk about it that way, but communicating with intention and with clarity is super important. And if you feel like you are not on the same page as somebody, it's very, very normal to ask again. Please, can you provide clarity? Could we get on a phone call? Like, those are moments that are pivotal. And sometimes I feel like as a people pleaser, I'm bugging people if I'm asking, for more information, but it's never ever a bad thing to continuously ask, hey, can you clarify this? Or I really don't think we're on the same page, because if you aren't on the same page and production is tomorrow, see you later. Good luck. The last thing that I will say, and this goes to me 1 year ago, is saying yes too much. That is one mistake that I see often as a producer. You have to have a backbone. You have to be very strong and know exactly what your bounds are and communicate that. Let's say somebody is asking for more budget for their personal kit, and you only have a certain amount of money to give that person. You have to be, one, transparent and say, look, full transparency, this is what I'm working with. Can you work with that? That is the best way to articulate, an issue with budgeting, or maybe it's scheduling, and you just really have to be able to say no. However, this is my solution. And if you're good to work with that, great. If not, we have to move forward in a different direction. No, but this is my suggestion. That is the best sentence that anyone can hear. If it's just a no, it's usually not received very well. And ideally, if you are the one that is pushing back, you need to have another solution. Feel free to watch the final product here. It is for broadcast. I have yet to see it when I'm out and about. I would love to. This project is very close to my heart because I had actually done another production with a similar scale, and I learned a lot, and that was years ago. And so now this was kind of my redemption production. I felt very good about it, super supported by other people on the crew. Matt especially, he trusted me with a lot, and I was able to walk him through, like a classic workflow of what I'm used to. Thank you guys for watching this breakdown. Hopefully that helps. Please, again, comment down below if you want any of those breakdowns, budget breakdowns, location scouting breakdowns, anything like that of the sorts. See you in the next one. Goodbye.